You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Warning, the following podcast episode contains spoilers. Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to delve and dissect into classic horror films, both old and new. And we have the distinct privilege to talk about the newly released Annabelle creation, courtesy of Roadshow, who let us go along and see an advanced screening of this.
Yeah.
Hence why we're able to sit down and have a quick chat and dissect this new movie. So first, before we get to that, though, I should introduce ourselves. I'm your lead host, Paul Farrell. And alongside me is the Big Cheese, Anthony Yee.
Hello.
Hey, Ant. How's it going?
Good, man. How you going?
I'm good. So we're talking about this. We literally saw this last night at the time of our record.
Yep.
And before we kind of delve into the nitty gritty of the film itself, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room.
Jeff.
Jeff.
Can you please leave, Jeff?
Yeah. So the elephant in the room, we're going to call Annabelle.
Yay. Okay.
As in the first film, because a lot of people have gone out and discussed their disliking of the first film, and
the point of like, how the hell did that green light?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think if anyone's tuning in now, we do need to answer the question: is Annabelle creation better than Annabelle?
It's better than the original. Or better than the other film.
Yeah, okay. And I agree. And I think Ant and I were joined by two of our other podcasters, Miles and Nick. Miles, I feel, wasn't a great fan of it, but then Nick was a huge fan of it. So
Nick was a huge fan of the director, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and so which is interesting because I think we sit somewhere in the middle, like as in. It's definitely better than the first film.
Yeah, I like it.
And it was enjoyable. Yeah, it was a good film.
Our major problem, and this is really interesting, about film as an artistic experience.
Yes.
Was that we saw with a room full of media guests. The majority, I'd say, weren't horror fans.
Yeah.
So it was like seeing a science fiction film with non-sci-fi fans.
Yes.
Horror in particular, because horror is designed to elicit a particular response that is very primeval. So whenever you see a horror film with non-horror fans, it's always a very interesting experience. And we did. And so it was very hard to gauge, honestly, for me, to sit down and do I really like this film? Because every 5 seconds, people are going...
But then I think that's a good indication of your general public will probably go and love this movie. I honestly think that this is a success on its hands. I think people will go out and I think it will do well in the box office. Namely because it comes back to the fact that it is still quite a solid movie. There's lots of kind of tricks that are pulled throughout, which we'll go into a lot of movie details.
But again, it also points out the fact that we're not the audience, even though we love the genre. We talk to the point where we podcast about it. They don't make horror films for us.
No.
It's designed to scare everyday people. It does that. So, it's a bit like a comedy. Do you think a comedy is funny? It is always funny when you see a room full of people who laugh.
Yeah, that's it.
But then sometimes you can walk back from it and see it on DVD at home and think, what the fuck was I thinking? Inversely, I've had experiences where people didn't laugh, and I've seen a film again by myself and go, well, actually, this is not as bad as I remembered it.
Yeah.
Reactions, big part of
Absolutely. Now, I guess before we go into talking about some of the stuff that we saw in the film, let's talk about the director because, as you said, like Nick, it sounds like Nick is a
big fan. He followed his work.
Yeah,
online.
Yeah, so apparently, and I've yet to review. I'm only familiar with the Lights Out short feature from his short features, but apparently he's got a whole plethora of these short horror films, and Nick says they're amazing, and.
It sounds like he honed his craft.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense when you think about it.
Absolutely makes sense. But I really like the short feature of Lights Out. I thought it was a really good kind of nice.
Lights Out is a great example how a good short film can really change your life.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker.
Agreed.
It was a great film.
Yeah, and it went nuts virally, and
for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good.
Also, it reminded me too that you can have the best idea on paper for a horror film.
Yeah.
It's just the execution on the day.
Yes.
If somebody that is trying to be scared just gets it right, and the camera work is just right, and the way you cut it it works.
Yeah.
And the exact same elements on another day might just misses and becomes fast.
Yeah.
It just reminds me how tricky horror is as a genre for me. It's like comedy. Comedy is really tricky too.
Yeah.
Because it's a primeval reaction that you can't describe.
Yes.
So anyway, that's what I was thinking. That was actually one of the thoughts that occurred to me throughout the film.
Yeah.
As I was watching it, because a lot of it is set pieces and a lot of it is execution, which most horror films are.
Yeah. That's right.
But I was, constantly thinking, okay, what are the choices he's making here? When's he going to give us a scare?
Yeah.
How long can he draw out the tension? And how's the scare going to come? Is it going to? And just all the other bits too, the imagery that he's hitting us with, the design, the artwork, all of the lighting, which is a big part of the James Bond universe, for want of a better word, is it working? And so
that's right. And all these, like, I think we'll go into the kind of some of those elements in a bit, because I think it's worth noting. I will kind of comment on the fact that I felt James Wan's hand is a bit more obvious in this one, and I do wonder if he oversaw the rushes or something, along the way, as compared to Annabelle. And also, I think it's important to mark too. Even though Annabelle technically was the first spin-off that we've had in this universe, this to me feels like it's the first one since they've come out of saying we're expanding the universe, and it really feels it. It feels richer as a movie. And I think, when you do that, I wonder if James Wan is a bit more kind of hands-on with the overall look and feel of this universe. Obviously, he's a busy guy. He's in the middle of directing Aquaman at the moment. So let's face it, he's not going to be kind of across every minute detail. But I do wonder if he's had a hand in the style guide.
Yeah, I think because this is the thing now. Movie franchises are trying to develop universes.
Yeah.
More movies are getting made like television, where you have a showrunner and an overriding executive producer / director who has say on final cut, basically. Yes. And that's ironic because for years, television and film were separate. Film was the upper class, higher class, aspiring thing to be. Television is lowbrow, it's comic books, it's whatever. Yeah. And that's been, ever since, ironically enough, the age of reality TV, I think there's been a flip. Yeah. Because reality TV forced drama to become really, really fucking good. Yes. Then came the era of HBO. And television drama is now the thing that actors in particular aspire to. They want to get a good drama. Yeah. And storytellers, the best writers, realise the inherent advantage you have over a television series is you can really develop your story. Yeah. You see it now in Game of Thrones. Yeah. Game of Thrones, even if it was a Lord of the Rings 3-hour movies, you can't work on 5 years of bad guys winning to getting the payoff that you're getting now in season 6 and season 7, where the good guys are finally getting their comeuppance, and everybody's going fucking yeah, because it's been a long time waiting to see a dragon fly over the horizon and nuke some people. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's what's happening now. Ironically enough, now film is really starting to become like TV. Yep. Because they're realizing how bankable it is if people get invested in the universe you create, not the film you create. Yes. So I think, he would. I think we've known Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings. He was directing on one set whilst looking on a TV monitor that was giving a live feed to another city across the country where they were shooting second unit stuff. Yeah, yeah. And Lucas was doing the same thing too with Star Wars, the prequels. Yeah. I'd easily imagine James Wan, that's his life. Yeah, yeah. Shoots Aquaman, goes home, eats a microwave dinner, and then gets back into it. Yeah, I can fully see that. So my only other thing I was going to say about Sandberg, the director, is that his first feature, Lights Out, which was an expanded version of the short feature, I went on record as saying it was the worst horror film of 2016, which I still stand by. And so I kind of was really nervous about coming into seeing this film. And I can definitely say that he brings his A game, and it's a solid film. Much better. Much better. I feel like the narrative is it links a bit more. The journey's a bit more cohesive. I would argue that some of the dialogue is a bit ropey. Did he write it? No. The writer was the same writer, wasn't it? Yeah, it's the same writer. So his name's Gary Dauberman. So he's the same writer of the original Annabelle film, and he was also on hand to write the new It film. That would be really... Was he co-writing the new It film, or was he one of the many 28 writers? Probably. I have to look that one up. He wrote the screenplay for the new It film. He's also behind the screenplay for the new Nun spin-off as well. So he's very much
encamped within this kind of new universe that James Wan universe, Conjuring universe, for all the spin-off stuff. So kind of.
So again, same thing. Television franchise. He's basically assigned to a TV series, series, where he's a staff writer. Effectively, it was not like film where you go in for one project and you move on to the next. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I agree. I think Lights Out was very disappointing. It made you think, because when you heard, they're going to turn this really brilliant short story into a full-on universe. Yeah. The first thought was like, well, obviously, good luck. Obviously, they've got the work cut out of them, but they know the story better than you and I, and they've put some thought behind it. To us, it was just a brilliant execution of a really cool idea. Yes. And the answer was no, they didn't. They were just as stuck as you and I were. We're like, we don't know what to do because the story is really dumb. And the
it was just fun.
But this is good news because he's clearly learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
He hasn't sort of been smashed because making films is a confidence game. He did well.
So he's also apparently been announced to direct Shazam.
I've heard that,
which is the next one. So this is the story of a boy who's given the ability to become an adult superhero in times of need.
That's a DC universe
with a single magic word. Yeah.
Did you know that Shazam is actually stronger than Superman? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I thought Shazam was the app. No.
No, he was a genie in the 90s TV show.
Okay.
No, because I was always curious about Shazam.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. Because as a kid growing up, they looked alike. They just had different colour schemes. They were both strong. They were physically big guys with short dark hair. Square jaws, and they had capes, and one had a different colour scheme to the other. Yeah. And one of the coolest things, they never fought when I was a kid, but they had one Superman comic book where they had a Captain Marvel clone. Yes. He was Captain Marvel in anything but name. Yes. And they fought each other, and that was really cool. Yeah. Because their powers are alike. But they've since said that he's actually stronger than Superman because his powers are based in magic. So he's one of the... Because the whole thing about Superman is that he's the god of all superheroes. You can't fucking... Thor can't beat him. Yeah. Hulk can't beat him. But Shazam can. Ooh. In a straight-up fist fight. So interesting.
There you go.
And also, too, the reason why there's a Captain Marvel in... there's a long story, but Captain Marvel, the name was copyrighted by Marvel. It got let go, and Marvel claimed it. Yes. So DC couldn't claim it back. Okay. So they had to call him Shazam. Right. And that's why they've always kept a Captain Marvel. And there's always been a lame superhero, but they don't care. They want to keep the name. Yeah. And it's only when they turned into a woman that she kind of got traction. Yes. Which is why there's a film coming out with it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's close to Annabelle. Let's keep going.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's all relative because we're talking about Sandberg, and and he's obviously going places, like he's stepping up and becoming bigger, and much respect to him. And I think going by the trajectory of what we've seen, I think there's some good stuff coming from him. So looking at the actual plot line of Annabelle creation, so the concept of it is that we're following a group of girls that move to this place, which is started off with a new orphanage, which is like this remote countryside that looks like Australia.
It's Australia. It is. I'm 98% sure it's the same country house in the middle, but nowhere Queensland, that they used in Saving Mr. Banks. Yeah. Which was a house set in Queensland. Yeah. It just feels the countryside, the light feels Australian. Yes. It just feels like Australia. The flora. There's no animals. No. The kangaroo bounded past, that was a bit of a giveaway. But that could have been American kangaroos. Could have been. Also, all Australian cast. Virtually.
Not all Australian.
The adults.
The adults.
The two adults.
So let's talk about those two. So we've got Anthony Dopalio, who plays the father figure of the girl Annabelle.
He's a doll maker.
His name's Samuel Mullins, and he is a doll maker. That's right, makes dolls. And we see him at the very beginning creating Annabelle.
Number one of
100.
100 was 100.
Yeah, 100.
Limited edition.
Yeah. And we also meet his wife. Miranda Otto, who to me is Lord of the Rings.
Eowyn. It's Eowyn.
Yeah. And she plays Esther Mullins in this feature. They have a daughter, as I said, called Annabelle.
They call her Busy Bee.
Busy Bee. Bee Mullins.
That's her nickname. So they don't reveal that her name is B is short for Annabelle. Until the end.
Oh, yeah, I never really got that.
You were too busy snorting coke. I don't know. No, they don't reveal her name was Annabelle till because they called her B, so you assumed it was for Belinda or something.
Yes, that's right. But unfortunately, fairly, about 15, minutes in, maybe less than that, Annabelle
she gets pancaked.
Gets hit by a car.
Yeah, can I just say that was really horrific for me?
Yeah.
Only because when I was my niece, when she was much younger, did basically what B does in the movie. We were in a car park going to an RSL, parked in the car park. She was quite young. She ran out from the car. She just got out of the car. She ran out into the main traffic.
Shit.
And easily could have gotten killed. And we all lost it big time.
Yeah.
And it's a very real thing. You know? As a parent for a young kid, which you are.
Yeah, I know. That moment itself, like when it happened, it was harrowing. Yeah. When it happened, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and the way it's done, and like when people saw it, they giggled. Yeah. Because it was such an... Because the way it's done is very matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's how it would happen.
Yeah.
And it's just that horrific thing where you just can't help but laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
So that's, pretty full on.
Yeah, it was full on, wasn't it? And so, like, so this was, as I said, I think I mentioned it happened like in the first 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then we kind of cut to like 12 years later. Mm-hmm. And this is where we pick up the story from the orphan girls that arrive. So there's about six girls.
2 teenagers.
Yep.
2 tweens and 2 younger
girls. Yeah. So
both blonde. Yes. And there were 2 leads, effectively.
Yeah, and I thought both of them were really good. Like they
were very
really
good.
Stood out. Great performances from them.
Very, very good.
So the younger of the 2 is her character's name's Linda. She's played by Lulu Wilson, who people might recognise her from Ouija: Origin of Evil.
Another example.
Another great example of a prequel that ended up being made and being better than the first film.
Prequel made after the first film. And better.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And she's great. I mean, and we talked about this before too. Hollywood attracts the best people because any film that hinges on kids is really tough.
Yes.
But these 2 kids, this girl in particular, obviously she gets horror because she's done one. Yeah. But she gets horror.
She's got the eyes for horror.
She does, and she doesn't overreact. She reacts just right.
Yeah.
And the other girl who plays, who's slightly older,
Janice.
Janice is very good too.
Yeah. She's played by Talitha Bateman.
So the way it's set up is they're orphaned. They're all orphans.
Yes.
And I know for a fact the way it is with orphans, the older you are, the tougher it gets.
Yeah.
Because people want to adopt kids young.
Yes.
And Talitha's the character has polio.
Yes, that's right.
Which back in the oldie times, that's another unattractive tick against her name.
Yes.
So they're all feeling their age. I mean, I don't know how the teenage girls feel about it.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah.
They're virtually old enough to be adults.
Yes.
But the thing is with these 2 girls is their big horror is that their big fear is that if one gets adopted out, they don't see each other again.
Yeah.
And they make a vow that they somehow try and stay together because they're closest sisters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I found that really really kind of cool because they do turn up to this remote kind of house in the middle of nowhere, and it happens to be that it's the Mullins' house. So Anthony LaPaglia and
comes in,
Miranda Otto. We learned that Miranda Otto has become bedridden at this point, and so that we'll only ever primarily see the father figure in this. The girls aren't on their own though; they are accompanied by a sister called Sister Charlotte, who's their kind of guardian, I guess. Yeah. And she's there to kind of oversee and make sure that they're okay and settled into this new place. Something that struck me, I don't know if this is the right point to mention it, but in their attempts to protect themselves against this demonic figure that is Annabelle, they do try and use religion quite a lot, and it just seems like it doesn't work. There's a lot of elements in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Which I found a really interesting comment.
Well, at one point later on, spoiler alert, this demon goes after the father.
Yeah.
He does everything right.
Yeah.
He might as well have just thrown a rock at a tank.
Yeah, it was mind-blowingly insane. And I guess we'll get to that in due course.
But yeah, it's that classic thing of like, you want to get to that moment of people saying, God help me. In a real, like one of the teen girls gets attacked later and she's praying to God.
Yeah.
Because you think she's fucked.
Yes.
And like, you do sit there thinking, in this universe, what does God do?
Yeah.
Because clearly it doesn't work. And my big thing too with any horror film, you know me, I've said this before.
Yeah.
Your demon, for whatever reason, kills a person.
Yeah.
They enter your world.
Yes.
You condemn them to hell. They go to... Your demon from hell, they go to hell. They're going to go, what the fuck was that about? They can lamp you.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? I don't know. But it's like a ghost killing a person. Why are you doing that? Because you've just turned them into a ghost, and they're probably going to have an issue of you killing them. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird.
Good point.
But yeah, anyway, back to the house.
The key thing really though is with the two young girls, so Linda and Janice. We focus primarily on Janice at the beginning.
Yes.
And she even says like she's the weaker of physically weaker. So when she's the first person that starts to uncover that there's some strange goings on in this house, and it might not be as quiet and peaceful as would appear. Yeah. And she, in a confession to the sister, he even says, like, you know, I think this place is haunted and
it's fucked up, sis. Let's get out.
And it's hunting me because I am the weakest. So she she resigns to that. Essentially, the film itself is a lot of these kind of like set pieces that are set up to kind of scare and kind of bring us out of our comfort zone. Yeah.
But it has this interesting thing too, where you have a number of people in a house. Now, the traditional horror formula, you knock them off one by one.
Yes.
Because they're in the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
Yes.
So to get help is not going to be easy.
Yes.
But they don't. You can't. You also realise you can't really do that as a filmmaker, because as soon as any one girl dies, you would run out of the house and say this place isn't safe.
Yeah.
So he has to scare, and he does. The demon scares every one of them.
Yes.
And some of them sort of shrug it off as like a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Like the two teenage girls get scared by a presence, and I think it's the wife.
Yes, that's right.
Whereas the other girls, see some much weirder shit.
Yeah.
And all it is becomes a creepy house. So for me, it becomes a creepy house, but there's no element of danger because nobody's going to die.
No.
Until it reaches a certain point in the film, and then all bets are
and then it all all underneath.
But that's the interesting thing for me. It has to be set pieces that just scare you.
Yeah.
So how do you ratchet up the stakes? Is interesting.
Yes.
Question for me to answer as a filmmaker, as you would.
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah, I mean that's what it is. It becomes a series of weird shit happening. It starts off on the polio girl.
Yes.
Because it's the creature's trying to entice her.
Yes, that's right.
And it does it by there's a classic. There's a locked room. Nobody goes in that room.
Yes.
And
which we discover is B's old bedroom.
Bedroom, yes. Yeah. And I've been there through an Oculus experience.
Yes.
Thanks to Roadshow. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because it actually explained to me what that room was. Because I did this Oculus experience before I saw the movie.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Okay. The Punch and Judy show. Okay, I get that now. Anyway, so B has this trick with her dad. She plays like a hide and seek trick with him.
Yes.
Where she leaves notes for him saying, "Find me, find me, find me."
Yeah.
And so this little girl's this girl's sleeping in a bedroom at night, and the note gets slid under the door, saying "Find me."
Yes.
That's how Annabelle entices her.
Yeah, lures her in.
To open the door.
That's right.
Yeah, and she goes into the bedroom, and then weird shit happens. And then
this is where she discovers the doll, though, from the locked door.
Yeah, there's a closet. There's a little dollhouse.
Yeah.
And through the dollhouse,
there's a key.
And there's a locked door.
Yeah.
And she unlocks the door. Don't unlock the door.
And then what's in there?
In there is Annabelle. Yeah, and the room is covered in paper.
Yeah.
Torn out from a book.
Yes.
Which you later find out are passages of the Bible.
Yes.
Because Annabelle's been locked in there to be surrounded by the Word of God.
Yes.
So basically, they blessed that room.
Yes, that's right.
To lock the door. But it's an interesting thing too. Like, there's this great sci-fi trope where like an evil creature will feed off fear.
Yes.
So your big thing is like, don't be afraid of it. And you don't feed it, right? What the creature does is that it makes you scared by coming at you with a knife or something.
Yeah.
And so your heart rate goes up. So I like that thing of like Annabelle's safe as long as you lock her in that room. Yeah. But there's like a great loophole, like she can totally get you to unlock it.
Yeah.
So what's the fucking point?
I know.
And that's exactly what happens. The kid opens the door. Once the door's open, Annabelle's out.
She's out.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Because she closes the door opens again. She locks the door opens again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little moment.
Yeah.
And so, I think like without kind of going into too much detail of the plot line, because we want people to go out and watch this.
I'm giving it away.
Yeah. But we can give it away and talk around it. But I kind of don't want to kind of spill out every single thing. So like essentially, as we kind of fast forward a little bit into the plot, like I said, each of the teenagers or each of the kids are scared in some way, shape, or form. The tweens are telling ghost stories to each other under a sheet with their torchlight, and this kind of entity, which they think is the mother, walking around with the bell tingling, which is another great moment.
Was my hearing going? Because a lot of time initially when the bell first started ringing when they're having dinner, I couldn't hear it.
Oh, really?
Could you hear it?
Yeah.
My hearing's going. I think I've got an ear infection.
So like we presume it's the mum figure, and just as it comes round, it does this moment where it kind of comes in through the sheet, and there's this kind of very quick kind of cut.
It looks like a doll.
It looks like a doll,
for half a heartbeat. So again, it's very interesting. I'd imagine it was a cut they would have reviewed 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Because it is how much you're revealing, and how much you reveal something on a big screen is different between you and the screen. Yeah, look, it's all very good. Because that whole thing of you terrorising these kids. Yeah. Just enough to make them want to stay in the house, though. It's that thing you can't overdo it. You're introduced to a scarecrow.
A scarecrow, yeah.
In the barn out
just
the back.
Looks like a normal scarecrow at this point.
But 2 people on the podcast made the observation, like, that's the next franchise. And it started as a joke, but I think it will be the next franchise.
Could easily be. Even though it clearly is the demon that possesses the scarecrow.
The scarecrow later on. But
you wonder.
Well, they introduced the nun.
They had the nun in it, which was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool moment, actually. This was just with the sister character, showing an old photo of her and her fellow sisters.
In Romania?
In Romania, yes. And she's showing that photo to the Father Mullins character. And he's the one that notices that there's a strange figure lurking in the shadows, and he says, "Who's this?" Yeah. And it kind of reveals itself and kind of doesn't.
Weird, yeah.
And so, which is a good little moment, and we as an audience can see that it's Balak, the nun.
So that's nice.
Yeah, that was a good touch.
There's also a lot of moments of light in the photo. There's a photo.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Of the daughter
of B and Annabelle.
And the girl takes it off the wall to look at it in bed at night. And she realises that if you look at it with this light a certain way, Belle's eyes are light up. As if there's 2 pinpricks behind the eyes. Yeah. Or like the reflective eyes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I like that bit too. Yes, like I said, there's lots of nice little moments in there. And when another good example of, which I think was a real hats off to the director here, and Nick made a comment of this too, is the bit where Linda goes, they're playing hide and seek, and she goes and hides under the house. Yeah. And she sees the Annabelle doll kind of in the darkness. Yeah. And then you see the 2 pinprick eyes for a moment in the shadows. And then we as an audience, or normally when you go and see a horror film, you're used to things coming out at you, left, right and centre. But what he does the reverse of it, flips it, because we're watching this shadowy figure behind the doll, and all of a sudden the doll just gets dragged quickly backwards. Away from us, but it's still enough to make us go fuck. Yeah. It was a really good technique, and he does something very similar later on with the Janice girl. So when she has her big kind of moment when she faces the demon as it's coming out and presents itself to her. So she's having to use one of those kind of stair lifts.
Stair lift. It was made for the mother who's invalid.
Yeah. So which works well.
It's a chair lift. Sorry.
Chair lift. Yeah. Sorry, that was my fault. So she uses this chairlift, and there's a bit where she has to be strapped into it.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And so she's running out of the bedroom to try and get away from this demonic figure, and the shadows creeping in and getting closer to her. And she's trying to work this thing, can't get down, and then she realises she has to strap herself in.
Which I forgot about.
And she gets about halfway down, and the power goes out. Yeah. And then it starts to wheel her back up again. Yeah. And you see her getting closer. You can see Annabelle, the girl. Not the doll, the girl standing at the top, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah. And then the next thing we see is her body getting thrown off from the top of the stairs. It was a great moment.
It's almost like with the possession films, the possession can't happen straight off the bat. They got to go through physical trauma first. Yeah. And then, because that's kind of what it's leading
to. Well, that's it. Exactly. Oh, you can give that away. That's cool. But that's exactly right. And so we then kind of get this point where when she comes back, she's a defeated person. She's like lost all. Up to that point, she was actually quite a strong character.
That's actually okay.
And
the wind is knocked out of her sails.
It is and she's really like given up. And the sister's saying, "Don't give up. What do we do?"
Yeah. Well, the sister makes the point of like you're weakest physically, but you're not weakest spiritually.
Yeah,
and that's the one that counts.
Yes,
which is a good point because that's it. Because the wind is so knocked out of the sails when you get dropped from a 2-story balcony.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be. But I guess you feel that she's the only one who believes, and this
Yep.
thing's kicking the shit out of her.
That's it.
And she's now invalided into a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And she couldn't walk properly anyway.
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, she's really vulnerable at this point now.
Yes.
And then boom, it hits her again.
It does. It comes out. Yeah, we're out in daylight too, which is kind of a nice little touch again.
Yeah.
And we just get this. So she's sat in the wheelchair outside, and just suddenly this kind of hand that doesn't look like it's owned by the sister comes out and starts pushing her quite forcefully towards the barn.
Yeah.
And throws her in, and there's this kind of she hides, and then the Annabelle girl ghost comes out hunting for her in there. The girls are outside with their sister. They break in, and then we get the whole kind of, I call it the Omen moment.
Yeah.
Where the girl turns her head around towards the camera, and we can see that she's not herself.
She's not the same
anymore.
She says she's fine.
Possessed.
Also, the possession also happens through black vomit in the mouth.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that bit.
Which is also how it happens in The Conjuring.
And it's also how it happens in Outcast as well, I believe. The TV series.
Oh yeah, right.
It's all about the black kind of vomiting kind of stuff.
If you try to avoid being possessed, close your mouth.
Yeah, close your mouth.
Because that's how they get in.
But I kind of like that. So when does that happen in The Conjuring? Remind me?
The Conjuring is when the mother, she's resting in the bed.
Yeah.
And because it's funny, they feel they're getting some hope, and she goes over the rest of the bed, and the mother, the female Famaga character, is doing the laundry. And the wind blows in the laundry and blows a blanket up to the window, and she sees the demon woman in the window.
Yes,
and the demon woman floats over the mother.
That was
and
great.
Vomits under her mouth.
Yeah. That was a cool moment. I forgot that. So it's all good. So at this point, this is like we're coming to the climax of the film now, essentially, and this is where now that Janice has been
effectively possessed,
this is where the other girl, Linda, then
she becomes a lead, which is an interesting flip. As a storytelling technique, it goes from that the first Janice's gaze to this other girl's gaze.
Yeah.
As she realizes her friend is not quite the same.
No, that's
and
right.
she thinks the doll has something to do with it. Talks to the father about it, who's been carving out a crucifix.
Crucifix.
Because he's starting to realise
that something's not right.
Something's not right with the house.
Yeah.
And he talks to his wife. He says, "I think this is a mistake to bring the girls here."
Yeah.
Which you kind of think. That's what Annabelle did.
Yes.
Try and appeal to their penance because they're trying to make up for what they've done.
Yeah, that's
which
it.
Revealed later as to what exactly they did do.
Yeah.
And that's because she needed a vessel, and she gave 1 and 12, 1 and 6. So one of them's going to work.
Yeah, that's it.
So he's got a crucifix, and he talks to her, and the little girl says to him, "Blah blah blah," the doll, and that's when the father loses his shit. He goes, What doll did you see?
Yeah.
And she reveals, "Oh, we found the doll," and he's like, "Fuck."
Yep.
And he runs into the house with a crucifix, and he hears a noise in the dining room.
Yes.
Runs out, and then, but at the end of the dining room table, sitting is the Annabelle doll.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And again, non-horror fans in the audience were going, "Ooh," and that's when we were laughing.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. So anyway, this is the moment where the line gets crossed because something happens at this point.
Yeah. So and we have, and I found it I thought this was kind of an interesting moment. I think Miles disagreed with it, but I kind of liked it where the father Marlon's character comes up with holding the crucifix in front of the possessed kid.
Yes, who's in it?
And as she backs into the shadows, you get the demonic eyes thing happening, and
it becomes the demon.
It becomes the demon. That's right. And then it's charging towards him, and and this is where he's holding up, the crucifix, and then all of a sudden it just breaks his fingers back, snaps them back one by one. I was like, oh, that's really nasty.
It is. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. It's pretty powerful. You probably would have dropped it after the first breakage. He holds onto all 5 fingers.
And still holds it with his thumb.
And then that gets broken. And then he thinks, maybe I should drop it. After the first one, I probably would have gone, fair enough.
Yeah, so and that's when they
he gets killed.
Gets killed.
And the sister finds him after coming up from grocery shopping, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're going to call the police and stay in the house." And they can't explain how he died.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I found that bit. That was one bit where I went, oh, really? Yeah, he's just died. His fingers are completely broken. Yeah. You're still going to stay there.
In the house.
You'd be like, no, fuck out of there. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
But,
because at the very least, based on the empirical evidence, there's a very violent criminal who breaks fingers somewhere lurking around the house.
Yes.
Or in the house.
Yes.
Leave the house. Leave the house as an option.
Yeah.
They stay in the house.
They do stay in the house. And this is also the moment where the sister, Charlotte character, has the talk with the mum. And this is where we find out the backstory.
What happened?
And basically, I mean, we kind of already said it, but like because out of grief and loss of their daughter, they start to look at other means to try and bring their daughter back in some way, shape or form. Yeah. And they do so, but it's not their daughter, it's a demonic presence taking on the form of their daughter. And the daughter pleads for them to put her in the doll. And then that moment is the doorway in for the demonic.
Yep. So that's what happens. And they realise, and then Demon fucks up the mum by cutting off half her face.
Yeah, so I wondered about that. So like we're shown at some way prior to this that the mum wears like this mask over her face.
Yeah, Phantom of the Opera type mask.
Yeah, and I kind of thought my instinct was I didn't think she got hit by the car. You know?
No, she didn't. Yeah, so I was wondering how that happened. Yeah. So I did assume that something had happened.
Yeah.
That made them go from like this is a good idea to maybe not so much.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. She realizes that it's not her daughter.
Yeah.
She tries to perform her own exorcism, which is walking with the cross.
Yes.
And the demon takes great exception to this.
Yeah.
Takes the girl's daughter's body and grows to like 8 foot tall.
And this is where I go back to how I think James Wan had a hand in this, right? Because it reminds you of the Conjuring moment, for the Crooked Man moment, Conjuring 2, where it's the dog and all of a sudden it kind of contorts and then becomes this Crooked Man.
Yeah,
and I felt like it was a very similar technique being used. Okay, I wonder if that was a comment led by that.
Maybe. But anyway, this demon now literally slashes its claws across Miranda Otto's face. Yeah. Takes out her eye. Fuck me, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then Miranda... Bad, awesome. What did you say? But then, so what they realise they fucked up, and that's when they put Annabelle, thanks to the help of 2 little priests, inside a room, surrounded by the word of God. Yeah. They bless the room, lock the door.
All done.
Boom.
And then 12 years later.
12 years later.
The kids arrive.
Yeah. The Annabelle demon knows how to play the long game.
Yeah,
it's in the room going, oh, fine, I'll fuck you later. It's all good.
I'm right here.
You're mate.
Yeah.
So, okay, game on now.
Yeah, so then we get like all hell breaks loose in the house now. It becomes like a real haunted house kind of moment, like crazy shit's happening all over the place. We essentially are dealing with 2 things here. We've got the demon itself, plus the possessed Janice.
Yes.
Roaming around inside this house, kind of attacking people left, right and centre. Yeah. The girls, the older 2 and the younger...
The tweens
and two of the other girls go running out of the house.
Yeah, they have an encounter with they go running out of the house, trying to get out in the car.
Yeah.
That's when they have an encounter with the scarecrow.
Yeah.
And the oldest one, they run into the barn. Yeah. The oldest one runs into the barn first.
Yes.
And sees the scarecrow in there. The other 3 were like smart enough not to go in the barn. And as he predicted, the door slams. So she's cut off. She's cut off
inside there, and this is quite a good, another good set piece because this is where we see the scarecrow again.
Yeah,
and we knew it was coming, and it's pinned to the wall, and it starts to you see the demon's claws come ripping out of it, and then pulls its mask off to bare some teeth.
Yeah.
And while it's doing that, the lights start to go out one by one. And this is a very Sandberg trait because we saw it in Lights Out.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's your signature. You like darkness. You like to kind of snuff out the light to really kind of showcase where these evil presences lie. But it's a great moment, And there's a bit where like the last bulb is lit and she climbs up the step ladder to try and keep it
so fucking dumb.
I know. I was like, really? Again, not for the first time.
Anyway.
And of course the demon kind of comes out to attack her, but she still manages to get away.
One of her mates pulls her through the window.
Yeah.
And it feels like one of those things where the demon is like, I just want to fuck you there.
Yeah, maybe that's just kind of it though. Like
it was because you felt like the demon could have taken it.
Because all it wants to do is enter into the world. Yeah.
Yeah, which it kind of had done.
It's done it, so it's just playing now. I reckon.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So
the sister goes and checks on Miranda Otto.
Yeah.
She's not in a good way.
No. Man, severed.
She's literally severed in half.
Half of it, like crucified.
The top half crucified, which is really like graphically. It's one of the few times where Gore's like, you've earned that, so it's really cool.
I was just like, oh, that's nasty. It was good. It was a good little moment. So yeah, she's out for the count, and then the sister goes to find the other two young girls. Yeah, and this is the bit where religion doesn't work because she's praying when
that's right.
the girl comes in, Janice, the possessed Janice comes in. And she just literally gets lifted up off the ground and then thrust against the wall so that she's out for the count.
Yeah.
And the two girls, one of the girls manages to get out.
Yeah.
But the Linda character is then stuck in there, and then we get the whole dumbbell waiter.
There's a dumbbell waiter, yeah.
And she's literally a rock between a hard place because she escapes from the Janice girl who's got a knife down through the dumb waiter, comes down to the bottom, and that's where she uncovers the mum, the severed mum. Crawling after her.
Which is very... I've just seen the latest Resident Evil animation horror film.
Yes.
It's a very Resident Evil look from the shadows and the half-demon crawling up to it. It was very...
Cool.
Yeah, anyway.
And then we're... so she's kind of like literally stuck between them. She gets back in the dumbwaiter kind of thing to pull herself back up.
She's
and you're just like, where are you going to go? Yeah. And there's a really great moment where the demon starts clawing its hands up on it, but its weight is actually pulling... her up.
Yeah.
So she realises that, and which goes to show how it's a good moment because it shows that Linda's got smarts, and so she kind of then grabs hold of the rope, and so as the demon pulls the thing down, she gets pulled up.
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually clever of you.
Yes.
That was kind of cool.
The actual end of the film, if you want to talk about that, so stop listening now if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can spoil. I'll put a thing on this to say that there's spoilers.
Is that... Yeah, it's basically, the two girls, Linda and Janice, are confronting each other in Annabelle's room.
Yep.
And Janice is about to fuck her up. And the sister recovers, comes out of nowhere, throws... She actually... That's right, she confronts Janice, who's got a knife.
Yeah.
And Janice stabs the sister, but the sister actually has Annabelle the doll between her and the sister. So she stabs Annabelle the doll.
Yes.
She has rosary beads, which she throws around Janice.
Yes.
Says sorry, throws them both into that room again.
Yeah.
Locks the room, throws a dresser in front of it, so that she can't get it. Like, fuck off out of there.
That's it. And the police kind of come and uncover it, though, don't they?
Yes.
But they find the doll still there, but Janice isn't, and there's a whole Shawshank Redemption style.
Punched a hole in the wall to get out.
To get out, and we don't know where she is.
And then the lovely conclusion when the priest comes in. There's a priest who drove the bus.
Yes.
Who's the father so-and-so, because the sister can't be anywhere without
Good comedy moment.
And the father goes, this house is cleansed.
Yes.
And he actually seems to know an awful lot about it.
Yeah.
And he says, she was using the Annabelle doll as a gateway in here, but it's here now, so the doll's empty. It's just a doll, so who wants it? The five girls just give him the best fucking kidding. And so the doll gets destroyed. So the interesting thing is, that's not the Annabelle doll. Not the Annabelle doll that we get to know later on. Because that doll gets thrown in the boot of a car. Yes. Then an interesting thing happens. It goes to 12 years. No, it goes into what happened to Janice.
Yes.
And
we follow her. Yeah, that's right. So we pick up that Janice has turned up at an orphanage. Somewhere. That's right. Somewhere. And these two parents come and adopt her. And I was like, hold on, they look familiar.
Yes.
And it's because they do, because they are the mum and dad of the grown-up Annabelle in the original Annabelle film. The one, so just to remind you, so she's the one that went off and joined a cult.
Yes.
And we only hear whispers of this because it's told. We are obviously told the story from other characters in the first film. But yeah, we have these photos up on of Annabelle
aging throughout ages.
Yeah,
and they morphed her face into the
which
adult
is cool.
actress. It did work.
Yeah, it did.
Into the adult actress Annabelle 12 years later.
Yeah.
The parents also, incidentally enough, when they first meet young Annabelle, they give her a gift. And it's a rag doll.
It is.
And the rag doll looks exactly like the real-life Annabelle doll.
The real-life Annabelle doll, so Google it shit.
Yeah, Google
it.
Really,
that's a good nod, I thought, as well.
Really cool. So adult Annabelle, now then, 12 years later, gets to the parents' house. There's a break-in.
Yeah.
They wake up in the middle of the house. The father goes out the door to investigate. And then adult Annabelle comes in and says, hello, Dad, and slits his throat.
Yeah.
and then she gives the knife to her boyfriend, who climbs on the bed to try and kill. Is going to kill her mum. Cuts to the neighbours who woken up in the disturbance, and that's
where we pick up from the first film. So they pick up from the May's character from the first film.
Yes.
And I thought, the circle's complete.
Yes. So it's gone from a good, decent horror film. You're about to enter into 90 minutes of shit.
Dear.
Dear. But I got her back to do it, because I assume that wasn't from the film. They actually
I don't know. I had to know, because it is the same shot.
Is it?
So
Okay, so
I
maybe
do wonder if it is the same. They've just used the same shot, or whether they reshot it. I don't know.
But because the noticeable thing is when she turned to the husband.
Yeah.
You can't see his face.
No.
And then the only other shot you see there's a big wide shot of the street as he walks out to. I remember he walked out to investigate.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Annabelle comes into her house and holds a hostage.
That's it.
But you couldn't see his face again, so I assumed they couldn't get that original actor to come back because they couldn't convince him to do it.
Maybe.
So I assume they would be shot at a la Back to the Future 2 style, where Elizabeth Shue's suddenly the girlfriend. I don't know, seriously.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, look, it's a nice. I mean, the Thing prequel.
Yeah.
Married up to the Thing.
That's
quite
right.
Nicely with
exactly. It does a very similar thing here.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I thought I actually kind of had a moment. I was like, nicely played. Nicely played.
Yeah.
Cool. And so that kind of rounds out the movie itself. The only thing I forgot to mention was the fishing rod bit.
She fishes for ghosts.
She fishes for ghosts in it, which was another bit, unfortunately that's a bit of a down moment for me, because I was just like,
what the fuck? For me, I mean, it was, again, people were losing it because it was quite scary.
Yeah.
It's a long story, but the young girl finds a toy, which is a gun that shoots a rubber ball on a string.
Yes.
And you literally wind the ball back like a fishing rod.
Yeah.
And for some reason, she knows her friend's being possessed. It's the first night afterwards.
Yeah.
Her bedroom, she now sleeps alone in the bedroom she shared with the girl. Because the girl sleeps downstairs now because she's injured.
Yeah.
And so she knows that there's a ghost in the room next to her.
Yes.
So she doesn't close her bedroom door. She leaves it open where she can't see in the darkness.
Yeah.
And fires this rubber ball and winds it back like a fishing rod, as if she's fishing for a ghost.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know, it was a really it's a really weird moment, and that unfortunately did take me out of the film for a bit, because I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
It was really odd. But then it is followed quite quickly with a really cool bit when she jumps into the bed, because she feels like she can see the presence of the thing coming. And then we hear the...
Yeah.
And she kind of looks down over the top, because she's on the top of a bunk bed.
Yeah.
Looks down, and you can see the sooted kind of footprints.
Yeah.
And then she peers over the other side against the wall, and we see the Annabelle doll staring up at her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a nice... It was a good little moment then. But it was just a shame it was preceded by this kind of really comical moment.
Yeah. And close the fucking door.
But spirits can go through a door.
Spirits can go through a door, they're not like fire. I don't know, but it was just like...
Yeah, it did take me out. And so there were some kind of niggly things, as I said, along the way. There are some bits that jar a little bit. The dialogue, as I said, is a little bit clunky in places. But having said that, there are some good, genuine kind of scare moments. It is a roller coaster of a ride. When you watch it, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's much better. It's a haunted house film, and it's done well. Like the thing, our other podcast, we talk about dolls. Are dolls scary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they succeeded in this too. There was moments in it that slightly plays with the comical. Remember I said, in order to get it right, it has to be kind of comical in places, but it also needs to be scary in places.
Yeah.
There's a comical moment where said gun that we were talking about, the girl accidentally fires it and it hits Annabelle.
Yes, it does.
Square in the face.
And they're talking.
It looks round at her.
Yeah, well, they're talking, and then they realise, they look back at it, and Doll's suddenly looking at them.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, didn't we knock the head the other way around? It's a lovely moment where you can't say that doll moved, but you can.
Yeah.
But it's more comfortable to just go, oh, I'm leaving. And that's what she does. She fucks off.
But there was a good moment, I thought. So, and that was kind of comical, but kind of scary in the same place. And I thought it's when you it's a fine line balancing that, but when you do it and do it well, then it pays off.
Yeah.
And there were moments of that in this film. So I think that's kind of us on talking around this. Unless there's anything else you want to add to the
No, go see it. It's a very good film.
Go and see it. I mean, we've talked through it. Yeah. Hopefully you've seen it and you can listen to our thoughts and add your own thoughts to it. What did you think of the film? But yeah, I thought it was a cracking piece, and really, really enjoyed it. And makes me I was hoping that Sandberg would bring it for this one, because as I said, I was disappointed in the last one that he did. And I felt he did.
Can't wait to see it.
Can't wait to see it. Also, that'll be cool. I can't wait to see it. Is an understatement. I seriously.
This is a big film for people in their 30s.
Yeah, it's a massive film. Like the book for me, Stephen King, it and Christine were big book moments for me as a kid when I was reading, discovering Stephen King and books in general. Who is this guy? And you're tapping really into his world and falling in love with it.
We've got so many friends who aren't horror fans who want to see it. A lot of them are women too. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's good.
I saw it once, I completely forgotten it. And I've got a clown phobia, so how weird is that?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. Tim Curry was very good at it. So
Tim Curry was great.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see the.
I think I remember from the original. It was John Ritter. Through his company.
Yeah.
What a weird name. Anyway.
Cool. All right, well, on that note, thanks for joining us and listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast scene. We've been discussing Annabelle Creation. It's out in the cinemas now. Go out and check it. And thanks again to Roadshow for kindly letting us go along and check in the advanced screening. Until then, this is Anthony Yee.
Hi, bye.
And I'm Paul Farrell. Goodbye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.